So it turns out that Quinfall not only is looking like it's real, it's actually looking okay. Now, I'm not going to say it's looking great, but it exists and it seems to offer very interesting features. So let's jump in and let's talk about it. So whilst we talk about Quinfall, we have to talk about how we first got into this and all of the talk about Quinfall being a scam. They didn't have a proper studio icon for their website. There was talk about it being a paid beta only. The trailer and all of the game seemed to be using store-bought assets. There was mention about AI and so on and so forth. There were lots of videos going around all talking about how Quinfall was probably a scam. Now personally, I was not really ever on board with that. It looked like they were making something and I wasn't really sure how that would materialize into a scam. An asset flip doesn't by default mean a scam. They then later said, the devs, that they would be actually getting rid of most of those assets, but they would be using some assets or like trees and that kind of stuff. And they also did an interview where they were actually in a real place and you could see the people that were making the game. None of that means it's not a scam, but they have since gone ahead and given us even more information. In one video, they basically go through the tutorial and the character customization. If I didn't know any better, I would say that that was like an Unreal store-bought kind of package that a lot of games are using these days. I actually don't know if it's store-bought or it's built into Unreal, but the reason we know better is that this game isn't actually coming to Unreal, it's on the Unity engine. And the character that they make in the trailer is this sort of green monstrosity. But you know what, it looks fine, it looks very customizable, and yeah, it looks okay. They then show off how they're currently planning on implementing the tutorial, which are these arrows on the floor that sort of point you towards a big lighting up circle. And then there's a brief introduction to combat. And the combat, if I'm honest, doesn't look amazing. It doesn't really have the animation fluidity that something like New World has, but it looks like an action combat game that is vaguely functioning. I know neither Quinfall nor PAX Day are actually out, but I would say that I prefer the combat of Quinfall than something like PAX Day showing in the current videos. Obviously that game is having an alpha soon, maybe that'll be drastically improved. They show various things off in the trailer, by the way, like talent trees, climbing, and more. There's a very weird scene where basically they have to pick where they're going to start their character, and then there's like an option of like, what kind of bonuses do you want? There's some for your gathering and crafting professions, and then there's some that are actual like combat bonuses, and actually whether or not you prefer PvE or PvP, because you'll get little bonuses if you do that. I don't know if those are permanent. I really don't like the idea of permanent things just straight off the bat where you really don't know what kind of game you're getting into, but really I'm sort of nitpicking there a little bit. I personally don't find the graphics or the UI to be visually that pleasing, but I don't hate it. I don't really like the fact that they have this like auto pathing thing. It sort of feels like a Korean MMO, which maybe by default isn't a problem, but maybe I'm associating pay to win there. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit like bitter on that taste. But yeah, they show off the crafting systems. If I'm honest, a lot of the icons look very similar to the New World style. It's like a square which has like a color, which isn't that amazingly like distinct, but for some reason it does give me a little bit of New World vibe. The map on the other hand I think might be sort of similar to BDO's. The map looks great though, and all around though, the video where they show the tutorial and the crafting system, yeah, it looks like a functioning game at least. There's another video where they basically show off what I'm going to call the PAX Day feature, where you basically just craft and build things. Now I know PAX Day didn't invent this, but that might be familiar to everybody as I speak right now and as you watch this video, because as I said, that's going into Alpha 2 pretty much this week. But in a video, they pretty much build a giant building with some really cool features. It shows them first gathering the materials, and then they're building the stuff. Now again, I'm not going to claim that they necessarily made this themselves. It might be that this was something they bought, but I don't really care if they buy it or not. It's more about how these will actually work in a game. Personally, I was very impressed with that crafting system. Looks like there'll be places where you can sort of like make your own kind of plot, make your own building. Not sure how that will work in an MMO, but they are promising a very big map, and I think there's going to be layers and that kind of stuff. There was another video where they showed off pets and mounts. If I'm honest, the animation for the pets was not particularly that great, but they have a lot of variation in them already. It looks like the pets are going to be useful to go and collect up your loot, but they're not messing around. They know pets are a classic MMO staple, and they're giving you them straight off the bat. No pun intended there. They also showed off the mount system. It looks like there's some kind of taming process, and one thing I was very impressed with was the customization of the mount. So the same mount can look very different depending on the kind of things that you add to it. and I thought that was pretty damn interesting. The horse did look a little bit small, which makes me think it's a pony, but it's actually called a horse on the screen, but the sizing of the horse to the person looked pretty weird to me. At the end of that video, they tease a caravan video. Looks like you're going to have proper caravans, and it looks like you're going to have a caravan sort of mount where it's like fully loaded up. And yeah, I'm excited to see that. Now you might be wondering when you can play this game. Well, the sign-ups for the next beta are closed, and the people who've signed up have now been told if they're in or they're out. And I'm pleased to report that I am actually in that beta. So I will be giving you my fair, unfiltered impressions when we see it. I think I might also got accepted into the content creation program, which I'll be very interested to see if they keep me in once I give them my feedback. For now, the game is looking what I always thought it would be, and that is a relatively scuffed but real MMO. It's not going to be the most visually pleasing, the animations aren't going to be the greatest, but if it's got good, interesting features, and the combat is actually okay, and that's a big if because the combat is super important. If those things are sort of good enough, then Quinfall could be very interesting indeed. At the time of filming, we don't actually know when that beta is going to be happening, but we do know is that I will be streaming it. And if you want to come and watch that, then give me a follow over on twitch.tv/JOddity. However, if you want to support my channel, becoming a Patreon is truly the best way. For now, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you have a truly most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.